The sun had barely risen over the ancient kingdom of Arelion when King Aric stood alone on the balcony of his stone fortress. Below him stretched a land once filled with music, laughter, and bustling streets, but now silent, scarred by war. The king's cloak fluttered in the cold wind as he watched smoke curl from distant villages. Peace had been slipping from his fingers like sand. Aric had inherited the crown at the age of 19, on the same day he lost both his father and mother to an assassin's blade. Since then, he ruled with unmatched courage but carried a heavy loneliness in his heart. His people loved him, but he often felt like a king walking through shadows, trying to hold back darkness with his bare hands. That morning, a messenger rushed into the throne room, breathless. "Your Majesty," he said, dropping to his knees. "General Rovan has betrayed us. He has aligned with the enemy. Their armies march toward the capital." Aric's heart tightened. Rovan was once his mentor, a man he trusted like a second father. Betrayal from him was more painful than any wound. "Prepare the royal guard," Aric ordered, his voice steady though his soul trembled. "No more running. Today, we defend Arelion." As the king donned the armor that once belonged to his father, he felt the weight of destiny pressing on his shoulders. But he also felt something else, fire. He would not let his people fall. Not today, not while he still breathed. By midday, the enemy army darkened the horizon like a rolling storm. Thousands of armored soldiers marched forward, led by General Rovan in black steel. The land shook beneath their boots. King Aric rode to the front lines, the royal banner fluttering behind him. His soldiers' eyes lifted, full of fear, until they saw him. Their king, their hope. Aric raised his sword. "Arelion," he shouted, voice echoing across the battlefield. "This is our home. Our families stand behind these walls. Our history lives in every stone beneath our feet. Today, we fight not for glory, but for the right to live free." The roar from his army thundered through the valley. The battle ignited with steel crashing against steel. Arrows rained from the sky. Horses charged. The world became a blur of fire, dust, and desperate cries. Through the chaos, Aric fought like a storm unleashed, his blade moving with purpose and fury. But the enemy was overwhelming. Soon, Aric and Rovan faced each other in the center of the battlefield. Memories flashed between them, lessons, victories, shared laughs. Now they stood as enemies. "Why, Rovan?" Aric demanded, sword trembling. Rovan's eyes were cold. "The kingdom needed change, strength. And you are too soft, Aric. A boy wearing a crown." "I am the king," Aric said softly, "because I choose my people over power." Their swords clashed, sparks flying. The duel was brutal, each strike echoing with years of betrayal and heartbreak. At last, Aric disarmed Rovan and held his blade to the traitor's throat. "End it," Rovan spat. "Be the king you think you are." Aric hesitated. He wanted revenge. He wanted justice. But he also knew that mercy required more courage than killing. "No," Aric said, "I will not become like you." He ordered Rovan taken prisoner. But mercy cost him time. As he turned back toward the battlefield, an enemy archer released an arrow aimed at Aric's heart. A soldier saw it too late. The king fell. The battlefield froze. Soldiers dropped to their knees, crying out in grief. Aric's vision blurred as he gazed up at the sky, the sunlight warming his face. He felt strangely peaceful. "My people," he whispered. "Protect them." But just as darkness closed in, his loyal commander, Esser Alwyn, reached him and pressed a healing herb mixture to his wound. "Stay with us, my king," he said fiercely. "Arelion still needs you." Aric drifted in and out of consciousness as his soldiers carried him away. The battle raged on, fueled by rage and love for their fallen king. By nightfall, the enemy was defeated. The capital stood unharmed. Days later, Aric awoke in his chambers, weak but alive. Outside, he heard the cheers of thousands. "The king lives," Aric smiled faintly. He was bruised, scarred, exhausted, but undefeated. And so, the legend of King Aric grew, not because he was the strongest or most feared ruler, but because he was the king who fought with courage, ruled with compassion, and refused to let darkness shape his destiny. A true king.